everybody, welcome to the official first video of the Cases Never Closed podcast. If you are new, welcome. I am Keisha, the creator of this channel. Before I get into the first video, there are kind of a few things that I just want to address first. The first thing that I do want to say though is thank you all so much for all of the love and support that you guys have shown this channel. When I had started this podcast, it was something that was mainly just for me, and something for me to do in my free time. I did not expect it to get as much love and support as it has. So thank you all so much for showing so much love and support. So the other thing that I do want to say is a lot of you guys have been contacting me or coming to me with questions about when I was gonna post the first video. The thing with that is I did not at all mean for it to take as long as it has. When I actually got the production of the channel going, I ended up having to get my wisdom teeth removed, and then I had some family members end up getting sick, so I just needed to take the time to make sure that I got better, and then to make sure that those who were sick in my family had ended up getting better as well. So again, I did not mean for it to take so long. Also, with that being said, I want to try to post a video at least once a week. But here's the problem with that. I am a college student and I do college at home. So while I am doing my homework, I am also taking care of a 2-year-old. And he wants a lot of my attention. So it's hard to find time when the house is actually quiet to be able to record these videos. Also, with school, it starts up again on the 17th. And I am a criminology student, so school for me is my #1 priority. So if for any reason school would go to get insane and there'd be a lot of work that I have to do, that is going to be my first priority, and that's what I'm going to focus on. So if I would have to change the schedule around a little bit, I will make sure to update you guys and let you know. So also with that being said, it's hard for me to come up with all of the video ideas by myself. So if there's a case, whether it's solved, unsolved, cold, or it's a haunted, abandoned, or just haunted place, let me know what it is in the comments, or contact me and let me know what it is so that I have more ideas of what to do. Because after this video, I only have one other idea to do. Also, with that being said, I have gotten a lot of requests to do the Idaho murder case. I have been following along with that case, and the thing with that case is that it is still an ongoing case, and it is currently an open case. And it's fairly new. So for me to go through and do a video on that case, I would have to have my channel be strictly based on that case. And the reason for that is they are currently in the trial aspect portion of the case. And because they are in that portion, there is so much information coming out every day, multiple times a day. So I'm not saying that I'm not going to do a video on that case, because I will. I'm just trying to wait for it to calm down a little bit, and so I can make sure that I get all the information that's needed. So please let me know in the comments what your ideas are, or what cases you have found. I will try my best to get all of them done. So just give me the ideas you have. Also, with that being said, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a video and you get notifications of when I post a video or give an update. If you want to follow along for the updates and everything, you can email me, or you can follow the Facebook page. It's the same as this. The case is never closed. So make sure you do that. So the story that has been on my mind the most is the boy in the box, or the unknown boy. And before I start any information on this whatsoever, I do just want to say there are mentions of abuse and sexual abuse in this story. So if that is something that is going to upset you or hurt you or trigger you in any kind of way, please either log off, exit out, or you can just keep watching, and I will make sure I go through and tell you when that is going to be mentioned. So, the boy in the box, it took place February 25th, 1957. The body of a 4-year-old male was found in the woods of Fox Chase, Philadelphia. The body was found in a box that had once contained a bassinet that was sold by JCPenney. The coroner had told investigators, which was released to the public, that the body had shown signs of malnourishment. There was a surgical scar on the ankle and groin area, and there was an L-shaped scar on the chin. The investigators were also made aware by the coroner, but this was not released to the public at the time, that the fingers were extremely water wrinkled, and there were remains of baked beans found in the stomach. That part was not released to investigators, or was not released to the public, but that is kind of crucial to this whole thing. You'll understand once I get there, and that's what kind of made me really focused on this case. The coroner had ruled the cause of death to be a homicide by blunt force trauma. So the actual investigation took place the following day on February 26th. There were 400,000 flyers sent out and posted around the area. They also had 270 police academy recruits go out and kind of search through the crime scene to see if there was anything that they had found, or if they seen anything that they thought would help in the investigation. So when they had one out, they did find 3 things. They had found a corduroy cap, a child's scarf, and a men's white handkerchief. They sent all 3 of these items to the investigators in the lab, and it was found that these 3 items did not have any relation to the case. They then ended up having the body buried, but they had the body exhumed for DNA twice. once in 1998 and again in 2019. And I feel like the 2019 part is like kind of drawn me in, but there was more that had drawn me in. I had found this case on TikTok, and I was like, okay, how is there a 4-year-old boy who's unidentified? So I had started doing research, and that's kind of the whole reason I started this podcast and this channel. So when something like this comes out and it is so new, there's going to be theories. There's going to be talking. There's going to be people assuming things. And right away, there were theories made. The first theory was in 1960, a medical examiner employee known as Remington Bristow had contacted a New Jersey psychic, hoping that the psychic could help in the case. The psychic had ended up describing a house to him and told Bristow that the house wasn't far from the crime scene. Bristow thought that it would be a good idea to bring the psychic to Philadelphia. He ended up taking the psychic to the crime scene, and once they had gotten to the crime scene, the psychic ended up taking Bristow exactly to the house. The house had ended up being a foster home that was about 1.5 miles from the crime scene. When they had gotten to the foster home, there was a estate sale sign posted outside of the house. Seeing this, Bristow thought it would be a good idea to kind of go in undercover, not really say what was going on, and act like they were just looking at the house. While he was inside, he did end up finding a bassinet that was similar to the one found with the boy. They also found multiple different blankets that were almost identical to the one that the boy was found wrapped in. As they went on with this investigation, it was said that there were no relations between the foster home and the crime, so they did end up kind of closing that part of the case. And this theory is the one that kind of sticks with me the most. But with that being said, this is the part that I was warning you guys about that had the mentions of abuse and sexual abuse. So if that is going to bother you at all, fast forward a little bit in the video so you do not have to see that, or just go ahead and exit out. I think you only have to fast forward maybe 3-4 minutes. So this theory was from a woman known as Martha, or M. In February of 2002, Martha had gone to the investigators and said that she wanted to make a statement about the case. Martha had a history of mental illness, so because she had the history of mental illness, the investigators did end up saying that her statement was plausible, but they weren't really going to look into it. So this is also where the whole like baked beans and water wrinkled fingers comes in to part. So Martha had told investigators that her abusive mother had purchased the unknown boy, who was known as Jonathan at the time, from his birth parents in the summer of 1954. So about like 2-3 years before the death had occurred. She said that he was subjected to extreme physical and sexual abuse for 2.5 years. She then went on to say that one evening while they were eating dinner, the boy had ended up getting sick, and he ended up vomiting up his dinner of baked beans. That's the part that kind of shocked investigators, because nobody knew about the baked beans. That wasn't released to the public. Martha then went on to say that because he ended up getting sick and vomiting up his dinner. He was given a severe beating. His head was slammed against the floor until he was semi-conscious. And then once he was semi-conscious, the mother ended up putting him into the bathtub, and he had ended up dying in the bathtub. So those two parts of information gave the investigators a little bit of a jolt, because you have a woman coming in there a few years later saying that she wanted to give a statement, and then she mentions two different things that the public didn't know. Martha then went on to say that her mom had cut the boy's hair to kind of conceal his identity. This was also written in the report. The investigators did say that the boy did receive a haircut prior to his death, and it was very unprofessional. Martha then went on to say that her mother ended up forcing her to assist in the process of dumping the body. She said they had went to the Fox Chase area, and while they were there, a passing male motorist had pulled over on the side of the road and asked them if they needed any help. When he had pulled over on the side of the road, Martha's mom told Martha that she was to stand in front of the license plate and not move. So anyone who passed by or the motorist who had stopped would not be able to get the information from the license plate. And while she was standing in front of the license plate, the mom was going to convince the Good Samaritan that there was no problem and they didn't need help. So eventually the male did end up driving off. And the whole thing about Martha's statement kind of shocked the investigators, because they had a male witness in 1957 give almost the exact same statement as Martha, but it was more of the part of him pulling over on the side of the road. After they had gotten the statement, the investigators ended up going to see Martha's neighbors and questioning them a little bit about the whole thing. And the neighbors had ended up telling the investigators that they had access to Martha's house around the stated time periods, and each time they were at Martha's house, they didn't see any little boy there. They ended up dismissing Martha's claims as ridiculous. So with this statement, it kind of shook me a little bit. And I do think that's the part that really made me realize I want to know more about this story. I want to know what was said. I want to know as much information as I can. So with that being said, even though she did have a history of mental health, did they, like the investigators, ever end up looking into this Jonathan? Who was Jonathan? Was that the name the boy was given? Did they ever go look at the Fox Chase area for another body, another victim? Did they ever find any of the stuff that Martha was saying? So the other part that really dragged me into this is that on November 30th, 2022, the police department ended up releasing they had information and ended up being able to identify the male. They were able to identify him through genetic testing, and he was identified by a second cousin's DNA. The second cousin is known as Justin Thomas. Justin had purchased a DNA kit for his girlfriend, and when the DNA kit ended up being delivered, he had the idea to, why not try the DNA kit out on himself? He wanted to know more about his ancestry, so him and his girlfriend did it together. A year later, Justin was at work, and he ended up receiving a call from a woman who identified herself as Misty Gillis. Misty had ended up informing Justin that she was working on a cold case file, and that she had reason to believe that Justin may be linked to the cold case. She did inform Justin that the only way to know if he really was linked to the cold case is from DNA. So Justin had talked to his mom and told his mom about the phone call and everything that happened, and his mom ended up agreeing to send in some DNA to the investigators. So once the investigators got the DNA, they immediately started with all the testing. A few days later, Justin ended up getting a text from his sister. His sister informed Justin that the police finally released the name of the boy. The boy's name was Joseph Augustus Zarelli. When Justin had heard this name, he started to feel a little weak. And he was really in shock when he heard the name Zarelli, because he had some family who ended up moving to the Philadelphia area with that name, Zarelli. And he was really shocked to know that he was related to a cold case, and he was able to help them in the identity of a young man who they didn't know. Once they had ended up getting Joseph's name, the court ordered a copy of the birth certificate for Joseph. They had gotten the birth certificate, and it did show that both of his parents were deceased, but he had living half-siblings. I don't know if they ended up talking to the half-siblings, if they got a hold of them. I'm not sure how the rest of the family had taken the news, but they ended up reburying Joseph in the Ivy Hill Cemetery in Cedarbrook, Philadelphia. The Ivy Hill Cemetery ended up donating the plot that Joseph was buried in, and then the casket, the tombstone, anything like that was donated by the son of the man who originally had buried Joseph in 1957. The gravesite is open to the public, so you are able to go and see the gravesite. The headstone bears the words "America's Unknown Child," and the whole community ended up coming together and being there for the funeral service, the calling hours, all of that. And if you do go there, they say you at times can see people going and reading him books or taking him toys or candy or anything. And the girl who had taken care of his tombstone when he was very first buried, she was relieved. She felt a lot of relief to know that he was finally identified. He finally had a name. And she does still go and see him when she can. She'll still take him flowers and toys and all of that. So it was such a relief for her to know he was identified. So that kind of, closes this video. Again, if there's any information that had stuck out to you, please let me know. If there's anything about this case that you found interesting, let me know. If there's any cases that you want to hear me talk about, get a hold of me, contact me, put it in the comments. And yeah. So that is the end of this video. Let me again know any stories you want to hear me talk about. I am so sorry for the quality of this video and the sound of this video and everything. I have to record on my iPad right now because I don't have a camera yet. But I am trying to work on getting a camera. So, thank you all so much for watching. Please subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And I will try to keep you guys updated on what's gonna happen.